And good evening, and thanks for joining us tonight. Confessed killer Joseph Duncan will be executed for the kidnapping and murder of Dylan Groene.
The Boise jury took just 3 hours to decide his fate today, sentencing him to death. Prosecutors made their closing arguments this morning, painting Duncan as a danger to society, even if he was in prison. When it was his turn for closing arguments, he stated he had none. The jury took the case at 10. By 1 o'clock, the jury had made its decision. On one count, kidnapping resulting in death, they agreed unanimously on death. Count 5, sexual exploitation of a child resulting in death. They agreed unanimously on death. Count 7, use of a firearm in a crime resulting in death. They agreed unanimously on death. KXLY4's Annie Bishop live in Boise tonight and was in that courtroom as the verdict was read. Annie, how did Duncan react?
And Duncan actually smiled as the jury foreman handed his verdict, their verdict that is, to the bailiff. Now after that, Duncan tried to make eye contact, almost staring at Steve Groene, who was sitting directly behind me. Now we've heard throughout this trial, through Duncan's journal entries and also through his letters, that he wants to die. Today, he finally got his wish. It took 3 hours to decide the fate of a man who spent the past 3 decades killing, torturing, and raping the most vulnerable. 3 hours to decide the man who 3 years ago brutally and methodically killed Dylan Groene should die.
A jury speaks the mind of the community. And I think by this verdict today, they have given voice to the victims and the people that were injured by the crimes involved in this case.
Like Darlene Torres and Steve Groene, who both described to jurors yesterday how much they will miss their little teddy bear who loved Matchbox cars, monster trucks, and his sister Shasta. Both Torres and Groene were in the courtroom as the verdict was read.
I see nothing but an evil, empty, cold-hearted shell. That's all I see.
Groene sat in court every day. He says the hardest part was hearing how Duncan called Dylan a coward.
It's the coward that instead of taking his own life, took the lives of so many other people to get to this point.
And while the sentence brings closure to this trial, it will never end the heartache or close the huge hole left in so many lives. It will never make holidays, the first day of school, or Dylan's birthday easier to bear.
There's nothing that's going to relieve that.
Steve Groene, who is in remission from throat cancer, described Dylan as a guardian angel, an angel for Shasta, and perhaps for himself.
I think God kept me around to see justice for my children, and hopefully he'll keep me around a little longer so I'm able to watch my daughter grow up.
And Darlene and Steve both wanted to thank all the jurors, the 8 men and 4 women who have endured so much over the past 2 weeks, all the graphic evidence, the graphic testimony, and for making their decision today. Reporting live in Boise, Annie Bishop, KXLY4 HD News.